What's going on, everybody? Ooh, that would be a lot of training, but I'm gonna power them up anyway. But like I said, from the title, I'm pretty positive that's why a lot of you would have came here to check that to actually see what this means. And I'm gonna be the first person to tell you after go. I have no idea why I have him in there. Why is he there? Um, After going through the process and finally seeing it, and that court case helped me understand exactly what they meant by DDA and why they were so, how do you say it? They were so raring to give them those programs to let them see it. Now, from what I understand, and this comes from looking at the programming that Muttleaks posted and put out about the abilities. Now, as I said in the title, DDA is real, but it's not how you may think it's real. It's not how you may think it is. So, let me explain this right now. If you go through and you look through every single player you have on your team, a defensive player. Now, what I want you to do is try to find Lumberjack. I want you guys to go through that process for me while you're thinking about it, and just let me know. But anyway, I'm gonna speed this process up. You cannot find Lumberjack. People said Lumberjack is in the game. Lumberjack has a fumble penalty, but majority of the players in this game don't have Lumberjack. You can't find Lumberjack. Now, let me give you the of Lumberjack in the coding. Lumberjack increase fumble probability. Now, what that means is that you're able to fumble the ball when they hit stick you, meaning it's a fumble penalty. They penalize you for certain things. Now, that right there pointed something out to me that was very, very intriguing. Fumble penalty, a penalty. So that means they legitimately have a way of locking certain things if they want to, which is when I came to the realization that DDA is real, but it's not how we think it is. It's not a program or a code that just clicks on at any given point of time. No, DDA actually is a part of the game. It's instilled in the game. It's certain things that you just, no matter how hard you try, you couldn't avoid them even if you tried, because technically it's going to be everywhere that, in general, like every single place that you try to, like no matter what you did, you're going to run into DDA some way, shape, form, or fashion. Now, let me give you a perfect example. So there's a penalty on everything. So the first penalty is that I found is the interception penalty. This is why you have to jurtle to get out of the interception animation that you're stuck in, where you're running and you can't move at all. That is called a movement penalty. The movement penalty basically forces directly into the defender when you intercept the ball. Why? Because in the court case, the first court case, not this one, follow me here. The first court case, they said they changed the game to make sure two things: players are enjoying themselves or players are having fun. So, how do you make sure a player is having fun? You make sure that they stay inside the game. Now, you look at me and you think about it again, like Trill, how do they make sure people stay in the game? I can quit the game whenever I want to, yes, but you will not quit the game if you don't throw an INT. Makes sense, doesn't it? So, let's be honest here. When you don't throw INTs, you'll probably stay in the game a lot longer. You'll probably give yourself a better chance of being there. So let's go to point one: penalty, ball catch penalty. When someone throws a ball directly in your face, that's a catch penalty, meaning you have to legitimately click on immediately to try to catch that INT, which 9 times out of 10 won't happen. So that's how they keep people in the game. Now, let's look at another penalty: lead. You cannot pass lead the ball anymore. So it's a throw penalty. That's why you can't lead people to open spaces. Another one: rat catching. Rat catching has a very dramatic penalty on it. It has a directional penalty, and it has a, I think it's a guidance penalty or something like that. I don't know what it is, but it's something where if you catch the ball and he's within a 6 to 3 yard radius of you, you're going to actually slow down, or you're going to movement penalty. So whenever you catch a ball, you have a movement penalty. So you can't outrun the defender no matter what if they're in a certain radius. But I found out that it's not the radius. It's actually that's instilled in the game. A lot of us think it's DDA when certain things happen. No, it's actually put into the game. It's coded. The coding of the game gives you penalties in certain situations. So DDA would basically do this, that, and the third in order to stop you from getting a certain thing. No, DDA isn't the problem. It's the penalty problem. So if you're down and you've lost like 700 games in like weekend league or so forth, let's just say it like that. So you lose all these games out of nowhere. Your players just start acting really, really funny. This right here is not DDA. It's a penalty. So with penalties, they can control certain things. So a penalty is basically an animation penalty. So my first theory was right. Here's my theory right now that I'm going to give you. That EA controls what happens to us no matter what. So if you're ranked higher than a person, you won't get certain animations. You have no access to those animations. And that right there is why certain things happen to you. A lot of people are like, oh, why is my guy not catching this pick? Why is my guy not catching this pick? Why is my guy not catching this pick? Because 9 times out of 10, when you start blowing that person out or you get matched up against a certain person, now you have less access to all the animations. Let me give you a perfect example. Let's say you have 40 animations in the game. If you match up with somebody who's ranked lower than you, you only have access to, let's say, 20 animations. Does that make sense? You don't have access to all your animations. It's not DDA, it's the game's coding, the way they have the game set up. So let me give you an example, another example. So you ever notice how when you catch the ball, sometimes you'll do certain catch animations on a possessive catch, or yeah, like a cover up. When you want to cover up, you notice how sometimes you'll just catch it and fall down. But in other situations, you'll catch it and you'll stumble before you fall down, which is why you're doing that. You're doing that because technically you don't have access to another animation which would have kept you from getting laid out, which then in fact is what I started to notice. If you're better than a person, or if you're starting to show you're better than a person, in order to make the game more competitive, they will cut off your access to certain animations, which is why I don't think DDA is real. I think it's an animation barrier. So if you want to test out this theory, all you have to do, downgrade your players. And I noticed that it does affect series players. So if you try to take a series 1 player and he has all the abilities on him and you try to put him up against, let's say series 1 and series 2 both put out an 80 overall player. An 80 overall tackle is in series 2. An 80 overall defensive end is in series 1. Now that defensive end has edge threat. The other tackle has no abilities on him. Guess what's going to happen? You will not have access to super win animations because he's a last series player. Does that make sense? A last series player does not have access to all his animations. After the series changes, you lose access to certain animations. This is why we feel like the players start playing differently. They start playing funny. You lose. Tyreek Hill is a perfect example. Play with Tyreek Hill and take off his last card, and then go through the process of powering Tyreek Hill up until he's 99 speed with abilities Kim's in the theme team. It's not the same as having the exact card. You'll start to notice this when I tested this out on Ricky Jackson. Ricky Jackson does not have access to super win animations until I upgrade him to his final form. After a new card comes out, the old card loses access to animations. This is why there's a series 1, a series 2, a series 3. You guys get it now? That's what all of this stuff does. Everything in the game is based off of that. Where a series 1 player, a series 2, a series 3, a new card and an old card. The new cards have access to all the animations while the old cards don't. I'm going to do a little bit more in-depth talk about this so you guys can get a little bit more info on it. But you guys have a good one. Catch you next time. I do believe this is what EA does. When they put out a new card or they put out more cards, what happens? The old cards lose access to animations. You guys have a good one. Catch you next time.